Okay, I think I'm live. So, without further ado, hello everyone. It's Kenyon here. Is Basketball Rewind, and let's just get it going. I'm going to be talking about a couple different things. Hey, Will, welcome. We will definitely be talking about the Raptors shortly. I'm going to kind of meander through a couple different topics today. Hopefully, you can hear me. So please let me know if you can. If you can't, I will fix the sound. But if you can, I'm just going to keep it moving. So yeah, definitely. I don't think IQ plays for their game one. I definitely have thoughts about that for sure. So hope everyone's doing well before we kind of really jump into it. There's a few things that I really wanted to talk about, which starts with last night's games. I didn't get a chance to watch the entirety of the games because I've been busy, I've been studying, I've been working away, but I did watch the second half of the Hornets game, and the other game as well. I watched it. All of a sudden, I was like, "Oh man, I've been whittling away at this a little bit too long." That game, that first game especially was incredible. Like that it is playoff basketball. I'm just gonna put this up right here. I mean, my goodness, if there was any advertisement for why the play in, like anyone who was worried about the play in, you know, disrupting the season or making it not matter. This matters. This is playoff basketball. It is single game elimination for some of these teams. Like last night, the first game, that was a single game elimination. Team that lost went home. There were narratives in that game. Like if LaMelo lost, it's like this dude is not a winning player. The fact that he was able to push his team ahead, and I will get into that in just a second. The fact that he was able to push his team ahead um, and win really speaks a lot. But Hornets they're not, it's not over yet. They're not in the playoffs yet, but they progress forward and they are now going to be potentially, I think that they will potentially set up to face the Pistons. And for those of you who watch NBA, you may remember that there was a brawl that happened not that long ago between Diabate and a few other Pistons and Duran, and the Pistons are not quite happy about that. So don't get it twisted. That would be a phenomenal series, which I think that the Pistons would still win, but it would still be a phenomenal series, and it would be a good back and forth, and you can never hate that. So one of the things, and I wanted to kind of go through not every single one of these plays because I don't want to get the stream kind of taken down, but I do think it's important to point out that Khan, for all of his greatness, did struggle with some of the physicality that we saw ramp up, and it's really the athleticism and strength of a guy like Miles Bridges, though he has his own faults off the court. Though that's really what helped propel this team. You saw the physical size, the stature, all of those things come into play. And I really do think that it mattered there. I mean, you saw Kobe White. My goodness, this guy hit. I want to make sure that I go to the right one. He hit one incredible shot. He played like Grady last night. He did play like Grady. You got that right. He hit an incredible shot. I believe it is this shot um, near the end to tie it of the regular time that was remaining in this. So let's just go back here. So he's gonna come off. This is out of bounds play, of course. Oops. And we're gonna play it. He grabs it here. How the heck does this thing go off is insane. I knew that the moment that they got Kobe White, that they would be a team on the rise. They were on the rise before that, but he was the correct guy. I know that there were Raptors reporters that did want Kobe White. The problem is that Kobe White's good as a six man. If you have players in the right roles, you're optimizing the roles. As shout out to a friend of mine, Leo, who would always rave on and on about role optimization. When you do that, you actually see the difference here. And look at this. He's, by the way, he's a 6'5" point guard, quote unquote. I say combo guard, but yeah, splash. So let's watch that in full. Catch, shoot, tough shot. No business making that, but you have this guy with irrational confidence does not give a bleep, and he's doing it. Um, he's really doing his things. I thought Miller also near the end, he really had some crazy shots. I found that the way that the Hornets actually showed it out in terms of their patience and poise, in terms of their ability within the confines of a game to make some of those passes and take some of those shots. It was incredible. It was a really good game. Um, uh, hello, hello, Elliot. It was a really good game, and honestly, like to kind of bring it full circle back to the Raptors, having those irrational confidence guys with the athleticism, with the size, like a Miles Bridges, like a Brandon Miller. I'm just gonna pull up. Which, by the way, Bridges got what I think two of these back cuts. They just kept back cutting the Heat again and again, and it was just incredible. I'm just trying to pull up the because I don't want to get DMCA'd here, but there was this one sequence that just is the perfect embodiment of exactly what I'm talking about. No, these are balls passes. So let me just give me a second, folks. Let me pull up the tape and let me kind of blab on until I can pull up the tape properly. Because Miller had this one shot right in the grill, and I unfortunately did not pull up the tape properly. So he had this one 3-pointer. Here it is. Who do I got in tonight's game? Yeah, I'll go. I'll get to it after the recap. Um, Miller had this one shot, and when I pull it up, when you see it, you're just gonna like your jaw is gonna drop. But it wasn't just that; it was the fact that they were patient enough. There were chances they could like the clock was winding down in this play, and you'll see when I pull it up that like they could have panicked. It might have been the shot to end the quarter, and they just it was like two passes before then and they swung it to him and he just pulled up and just unloaded and it was just a thing of beauty, honestly. So I thought it was a really good game. Really happy about that. I'm happy about the outcome of the Spurs game as well. That was a really impressive game. Sorry, not Spurs game, the Portland game. You saw the physicality there, where like some of these guys, as I said, were pulling the Kelly Olynyk with the armbar kind of a thing. Um, and I have the shot ready. But yeah, with the armbar, and they were just letting them play, and you're gonna see that the overall physicality in these playoffs is going to definitely be ramped up. So here we go. Hopefully, folks, you can see this play go down. So I'm gonna go back just a second. So Kobe White, he passes it. I believe this is Bridges. Sorry, the screen's a little small on my side as well. Not trying to get DMCA. He swings it real quick. There is time on the clock, but like this is the correct shot. The guy's right there. Jaime Jaquez is right there, and he just rises up over Jaime Jaquez. Splash, boom, done. Uh, you need to have the confidence as well as the shot release to be able to do that. And for the Raptors, say you had Scotty Barnes in this exact same situation, the problem is that I would find is that his shot release needs to get sped up. And I with Quickly out, which Quickly does not. I mean, if you had Jaime Hawkins on Quickly, that'd be scary because he doesn't have the height to really get that off confidently. I would say. So that is kind of my recap for that portion. Let me just get really quickly to the comment about who do I have in tonight's game. So I've been covering this on the you know, sorry, no need to pick on Scott. Yeah, well, that's the thing. It needs to come from BI. Bi likes his shots. I think a little bit more inside, almost on closer to the like the above the break hash. Um, I think Bi could do it, but we just don't on this entire Raptors team. We don't really have the fast release. Like maybe Battle could do it, but like would Battle be out there? Probably not. Um, Yeah, Bi will probably be taking those shots, but I don't know if folks are gonna like that. So today we have the other two play-in games. We're gonna have Golden State, obviously versus the 9-10 seed Golden State versus the Warriors. I'm gonna pick the Clipper or sorry Golden State versus the Clippers. I do think the Golden State will beat themselves in this because I don't think that they're really running on full cylinders, especially with Jimmy Butler out for a long time. I think they said that Steph Curry's going to be on a minutes restriction for this. Like it's just kind of like put them out of their misery is kind of how it feels. I think that the Clippers are going to move forward. On the Magic front, the Magic versus the 76ers. Now, the 76ers are going in hobbled. I do see the Magic could figure it out for one game, but I feel like they're just done with the season. There were reports that they were basically having a locker room mutiny where they were saying, you know, it's either him or me. Multiple players were saying him or me about the coach. Basically, if they don't fire the coach, that please trade me. And when there's multiple players saying that, that's a very scary proposition. As Will pointed out, it's just a bad vibes team. So to me, I want to root for the team that has the best vibes. I want to root for the team that feels like they're ready to, for prime time because now is not really the best time to be having those locker room fights. Um, Unfortunately, Embiid, if the Sixers make it through this, Embiid's not going to be there, and they would have to hope that they could make it through multiple rounds of the playoffs to get to their full strength squad. I just don't see that happening. So, unfortunately, that is the probably the most unfortunate news. But yeah, going back to the Clippers, Mathurin needs to have a good game. I think Mathurin shows up in big moments when a coach is willing to put trust in him. At the same time, there's like a Jekyll and Hyde thing with him. I like Mathurin, but I will admit that he has times he's that irrational confidence guy where he has moments where he can pour in like 36, maybe even 40 in like a playoff game, like a crucial playoff game, and then he will also have moments where you are like, what is going on? In a way, it's kind of like Kaminga. Don't ask me which one's more talented. Uh, I'd say probably Kaminga is healthier overall, and but I haven't looked at the games. But yeah, I definitely would say Mathurin is going to be big. He's that X factor. I also think that Garland has some redemption to be doing. Everyone says that he falters in the playoffs. I think he's going to be big in his playoffs. I don't think that the Clippers, though I'm picking them to beat the Suns later on as well and to face the Thunder. I would say that the Clippers are probably not going to beat the Thunder, but yeah. Um, so yeah, let's go to Orlando. Just one more thing. So actually, hold on. Celtics in 5, regardless of tonight's winner. I agree with that. The Celtics can get like out physicaled for a game, but that only goes so far against the Celtics. They're not necessarily a soft team. But they don't necessarily. I don't want to say do the traditional inside out because they used Jalen Brown to do a lot of drive and kick this year, and he had a phenomenal year. He should be all NBA for sure. But yeah, but Elliot basically mentioned, I'm going to bring this up on screen. Who would you keep if you were Orlando, Franz, or Paolo? See, the problem is that I know people don't like Paolo, but you need to build around a guy who's healthy. Someone asked me, who would I have if I had a choice between Franz and Scotty Barnes? And I surprised people. I said I would pick Scotty Barnes. People were like, you're not serious. I'm like, no, I am serious. I would pick Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes plays those games. He's healthy. I love Franz. He was one guy at the draft and another guy at the draft that if the Raptors stayed where they were, I was okay with them taking either Scotty or Franz. I really, if Franz basically went where I thought he would in the draft, but I really like Franz. The problem is that if you're not healthy, it's really tough. And he's had like a string of bad injuries. So we will see, but it's tough. It really is a tough thing to call. Oh man, I guess you're safe picking both of them because what, I would try to keep both of them, but if I was, quote unquote gun to the head kind of a thing, I lean towards probably building around Franz as much as it pains me. I would like to keep them together. I would build around Franz, but you need to have that team built in such a way that it can handle him getting injured. Because if he's not healthy, you're going to be in big trouble. Okay, so moving along, I wanted to go back and zoom back around to the Hornets. And what I wanted to bring is emptying the clip. So from a field goal percentage standpoint, from that standpoint, LaMelo had a bad game, but LaMelo was one of the most impactful players on the floor that night. And what it was is that he was so fast and able to get into spots, even though he does these one-legged like three pointers, and sometimes you're like, what the heck is this dude doing? He was able to still get very few turnovers, a lot of, I think it was plus 10 assists. And the reason why is because he is able to create those advantages on the court. He's able to create them consistently, routinely, and he's able to, because of that, because the defense has to pay attention to him more, it allows other teams to basically lose track of the other players on the court, which is why they're susceptible to things like back cuts. So he's really a guy that is able to get guys in spots. And unfortunately, I think Raptors missed their chance to get a guy of that talent. He is a little bit frustrating at times as well to watch, but he shows up in big moments, and I think that he showed up. Just as a side note, they gave out a chain, an Amazon chain, and it was the coolest thing ever. It was like a golden chain with like a screen in the middle, and the screen had like LaMelo's play of the game like on repeat. And I thought it was a nice touch. Good job by the broadcast team to give that to the player, allow him to keep that. I thought that that was a really really cool touch. And these are some of the things that you're going to look for. Um, Before I get to the Raptors, I'm going to get to the Raptors at the end, folks. Um, but I am going to talk about Raptors adjacent stuff in terms of MLSC really quickly. I'm going to put this on the screen real quick. Here we go. And we're going to talk about the overall efficiency landscape, and then we're going to talk about MLSC. Okay. So, higher up, on the y axis is good. Further right is good. So, these are going to be your efficiency ratings. One is going to be offense. One is going to be defense. And I believe if it's matching Kurt Goldsberry, I believe the defense is over here actually. So your defense is going to be on on this axis, and your offense is going to be on your x axis. The Raptors. This is again interesting because it's showing the overall minimum 10 seasons. The As an efficiency thing, the Raptors have traditionally, I guess, had decent offenses, but bad defense. And I just find this really interesting. To end the season, they did end up being really good defensively. I thought that that was something to keep in mind. That this series is a series that they can fight their way into it. I just don't have the most amount of confidence. Second apron team next season, by the way. Yeah, I mean, they're gonna have to make some decisions. So yeah. Am I gonna have a recap show? If you're talking about the first games or just today, I actually didn't even reach out to them. I just said, you know what, let me just do a live, let me just get this done. Um, we will see. I know coach has duties, I will say. Beyond I could actually message him now and see if he's available. Um, but he may not be. But we did actually talk about the game. We watched the game. I usually watch the game with those guys, so we did watch the game. Both a little bit of both games actually yesterday. Um, and Heat go home, of course, so they're going to have an interesting off season. I am not going to be talking about off seasons until the Raptors are out. Once the Raptors are out, I can start cycling through the other people's off seasons. Now, Will, shout out to you. You sent me this story, and I want to cover it. I want to read it a kind of in full, but I don't want to again get DMCA'd. So I'm going to take it off the screen for now, and I'm going to just read it for the folks so people understand what's going on. And it basically, just so full disclosure, for those who don't know, the Raptors are owned by Rogers right now primarily. And that is Rogers owns the Raptors through a conglomerate in which they own the Raptors, the Leafs, the Toronto Football Club. They own a whole bunch of these different sports umbrella. I think the Argonauts, and they put it all into one nice package for Mr. Edward Rogers primarily. There's some other smaller owners, but he's the big dog. Now, yeah. Let's see. FYI. Yes, yes, yes. But I do want to cut. This is still a very interesting article. The Leafs were have been expected to be good for a while. They had a team that on paper was starting the season was supposed to be good, and then they came. I'm not a big Leafs fan, by the way. I did not watch much of it, but you slowly track it. You see what's going on in the news. They did not do well. They just fired their equivalent of Bobby Webster, and I think in Trevelyan, and we'll see about the coach. There is decisions that need to be made. But Keith Pelly had this presser, and he talked about data, he talked about AI in it, and he praised the Raptors, and he just did a lot of meandering around of like, hey, like we got to do better. And I don't think a lot of people were very happy. So this overall article is called "Inside the Stunning Fall of the Leafs: Chaos, Dysfunction, and AI." I won't read every single aspect of it, but I will read the key parts because there is something that's very interesting. The Leafs basically let go of a 100-point player, so a really good player, and they thought that they could win without it, and they were mistaken. They were definitely mistaken. So it says, skipping a little bit, Pelly viewed himself as a mere observer, but others there felt differently. He didn't sit in silence. He typically would ask a lot of questions to the team scouts, and he would. They say that they frame it as peppering. So it's almost like a very persistent, and demanded more assets in trade conversations and tossed out opinions and ideas. So this is the thing where it's like he's kind of wanting to frame himself as like, no, I'm not the overseer and have my hand in the pot, but yet he's getting potentially too involved with team affairs from the hockey standpoint. Um, and so yeah, it's like as one team source put it, fans would have been surprised to see how involved a non-hockey executive, he came from more of a golf world and other things, was that day. Pelly didn't come empty-handed either. He came with notes that included possible trade returns that Leafs staff members believe were generated by a large language model and artificial AI tools that are becoming increasingly influential, you know, overall in MLSC. But these are not the usual process within NHL. Now, I do think that AI is going to be a bigger. It's going to factor in to a lot of front offices in a real way. I don't want to make this whole thing about like how to properly use AI or whatever. What I will say is that I hope at least that Keith Pelly wasn't using like the free version of like Gemini or ChatGPT. There are levels. At least hopefully give some context to the thing. You know, like I put in the other day, it's like, oh, like who's your top, all NBA guys that put guys that like it's like Ant. It's like, okay, Ant hasn't played enough games and you have to correct it, right? So just yeah, Keith Pelly, just be wary of that at the very bare minimum. But yeah, uh, there's no shortage to there's no shortage of blame to go around for the season that saw the largest year-over-year points decline in 109. Oh man, they set that record in 109 years of the NHL hockey in Toronto. The team wildly underperformed its own expectations of NHL Stanley Cup contention, but the real question is where did it go wrong? There's more than so a lot of people will be talking because it says it spoke to over 20 sources within the basically their front office. Um, Shanahan had been let go because of the mishandling of the Marner situation. It was probably time for him to go as well. But the real question is like what did that lead to? You see, the fact is that this just becomes a mess, right? When you're letting go of players, when you're relying on AI too much without having the requisite knowledge, and it was obvious because the guy Pelly in his presser, I don't know him personally, but in his presser, he was surprised that the Montreal Canadiens had made the playoffs. Like that's just sad. There's yeah, that's just sad. Um, you just kind of worry, like, is he just a suit? And he's kind of coming across that way. I don't think that that's his intention, but he is coming across that way. Um, so, anyways, the coach essentially struggled to make the diminishing pieces fit, instill accountability, and basically, it's kind of saying that the team was soft and it was one of the weakest defensive teams in the NHL, not the NBA. I will get back to the NBA soon, folks, but I do think that this is important to kind of go through. And they cut 10% of their workforce, and I guess they did that for AI. And this is why, going back to the Raptors, you worry is that are they investing? I said this before, and Will can attest to this, and I've said it in spaces a couple times. When you cut things for a computer, when you cut staff for computers, and you're not investing in those, I don't know if to call it soft skills or what. There's like an institutional infrastructure where you're investing in players that are used to do something for your franchise, like Kyle Lowry hopefully comes in is part of our infrastructure in the future. It makes a difference. And it seems like MLSC has kind of subjugated themselves to getting rid of that, investing in a NOAA board for shooting rather than investing in a good shooting coach. And so when you do that, right, and again, you're cutting these big costs, which are the people, and you're replacing it with you don't replace their top sports science program. You're not, the assistant strength and conditioning, instead of having a strength and conditioning coach fulfill those duties, there are levels. Your sports science is very different than strength and conditioning. Those are two different departments. They talk, but they're just different. And I know that this is focused on the Leafs, but if they're doing this to the Leafs, you have to wonder, are they doing this to the Raptors? I don't know. I hope that they're not cutting back on the Raptors. But knowing the corporate, we got to just make some money. We got to make the play in. We got to, sell a couple more drinks. It's not boding well. Um, and so yeah, the Leafs scrapped the this father's trip in November for financial reasons. So they usually have, like, if you're a Leafs person in the front office, or I guess even as a player, and you have kids, they have like a father's trip to kind of do mentoring. And instead of that, they didn't have that. Like, this is actually really embarrassing as I'm reading through this. This is the first time I read the article because I wanted to do it on stream. But yeah, meals at the sports bar and grill were cut from 50% to 30% in terms of the player discounts and stuff like that for staffing. Like, that's embarrassing. Um, Ticket prices, they're even gouging the players for tickets. Like, how cheap are we? And then instead of for the AHL, for the Toronto Marlies, shout out to the Manitoba Moose for the Canucks, by the way. But the AHL affiliated Toronto Marlies, who would drive, instead of driving, they would fly to destinations. You're making them make the bus like a Greyhound. $900 for young fans to wave a flag and stuff like that. The coach looks like he just got in a bar fight. This is embarrassing, and this is not good. And I think that this is all going to come back to hurt MLSC and Rogers in a second. If he wants to be the sports conglomerate guy, he's got to, put up the big boy pants and hire the real guys. You can't be cheap with this. Championships aren't cheap typically. So they say calm before the storm. I'm just skipping through a whole bunch of this, but yeah. It was middle of January. The Leafs, with the power play, finally showed signs of life under their new assistant coach, Steve Sullivan, appearing to turn the season around. And they had just done the unthinkable, becoming the first team to stop the league stomping Colorado Avalanche in Denver since October. Whatever. Song played. Yay. 3 days later, Roy, who had let the team, he basically 3 days later, Roy led the team's stretch in Las Vegas in the arena in his first return back from the city. He said he wanted to compete with anyone. They had eight games, eighth win. There was 8 wins in 10, so they were basically on an upswing. And the problem is that once the puck dropped and people started booing Marner as he was just whooping them and led to 2-goal leads, you get more and more embarrassment. I think the point here, and this is what we're seeing. I'm not gonna go through this entire thing, because again, I want people to actually go to the article, which I will link in the comments below at some point. Is there is a huge mess that is going on right now in MLSC. I mean, you have Pelly conducting one-on-one team meetings, asking about culture and leadership, probably bringing his ChatGPT notes. You're not instilling confidence in the people that you are hiring. And in some ways, you just have to hope that whatever happens with the Leafs or the Raptors or whatever other team, that these teams are given some form of autonomy when this is all said and done. It takes a whole organization, to really win any sort of championship or even to make the playoffs. I mean, I'll swing it back around to the Raptors right now, just because I'm losing people. At the end of the day, as much as I may not be the biggest fan of Darko, and I'm not the biggest fan of Bobby Webster, I want a GM that is willing to make mistakes if it happens. Not that I want them to make mistakes, but willing to make tough decisions, even if it leads to mistakes, and feel confident in doing that. I don't always want some guy with a spreadsheet or with some ChatGPT notes meddling with my team. It doesn't instill a lot of confidence in anyone, not in the fan base, not in anyone. There's no trust there, and you're going to lose fans over time. So I think that's kind of my rant on that. Yeah, I think I ranted enough on that. Sorry. With that being said, let's go into the final important thing, and that would be the schedule for the NBA playoffs regarding the Raptors and the Cavs. And then let's talk about really that matchup. So I'm just going to bring it up on stream here. Let's talk about it. Let's go through it. Let's get into it. So, first game. We all knew this. It's on Prime. Catch it. Don't miss it. Hopefully, there's not a blackout for those of you who are here where it's Prime. You actually have to buy like the TSN package, but it should be on Prime in theory. Okay. Game 1, Saturday. 2 days later, game 2. You're going to have a little bit of a break, a little bit of an extra break. Instead of it being on Wednesday, it's going to be on Thursday. Now, unfortunately, I am not able to do recaps on all of these games until about game 4. But I will post on here. I will post text. But yeah. Game 1, they did the Raptors special and gave the Raptors the oh-so-special continual Weekend Warrior, 1 p.m. game as per usual. And it's just really unfortunate because once again, the league likes doing this to us. The rest of the games are going to be TBD. The Raptors, as we see here, don't have the edge in points. I know that some people feel points per game. I know that some people feel like the Raptors have a chance to beat the Cavs definitively, and that they're perhaps some people even think that the Raptors have with their pass heavy offense have an offense that is slated for the playoffs. The playoffs is slower, more methodical types of plays. Even if it is a fast-paced style of doing that, you are seeing there are going to be times when the possession game matters, where each possession matters. I'm not saying that you have to slow it down to a halt. You're going to see some fast pace. I mean, we saw last year the Thunder versus the Pacers. That was some of the fastest paced, best basketball that I've seen really ever. It was one of the best finals I've ever seen. Even though I was happy with either team winning. I kind of wanted the underdog to win. The underdog didn't win, but it was a really good back and forth series. But for this one, you are having two teams with completely differing styles. And it's going to be very, very, very challenging to see what is going to happen from the Raptors standpoint. Donovan Mitchell, who averages almost 30 points, who is a playoff riser, is going to be heading the Cavs. He will get his. They will have to defend Harden, who, yes, Harden has some recent injuries, and he is playing through that, but he's not using that as an excuse. The Raptors, on the other hand, to go full circle to what Will said at the very beginning of this live, where Will pointed out, I don't think that IQ is going to play. I don't think so either, and I'm kind of worried about that. I think IQ has his own issues from a playmaking standpoint, but not having that extra guy. I mean, there is a talent drop off between him and Shed, just from an overall talent perspective. And you feel it. And if the Raptors have to rely on 25 plus minutes of Shed, Van Vliet, just kidding, but Shed, it's going to be tough. I hope that they start Walter. I want them to start Walter. I think that they should, and he's started a couple games recently, but I can't say definitively whether I trust them to start Walter. And even if they start Walter, how many minutes are we going to see Shed play down the stretch? I'm going to try to do some pulling up the season series at some point, not tonight. But the problem is that this is a new look Cavs, and they play very differently than they did before. You see the impact that I showed on screen the other day that Harden has on Mobley, or even on Allen, to just get them into spots. As a Cleveland Cavalier, James Harden is coming in with a mission, and he is incentivized to come in with a mission because he wants an extension in the offseason. So don't get it twisted. I know everyone wants to say that he is a playoff failure already before he's even played in this uniform. again, I will remind people in the first round, James Harden is usually not worn down. Usually it was wearing down because he would carry his entire team through the regular season. Um, but he is still that level of player. Like just even from a PER standpoint, he's the second best player in the series. Donovan Mitchell would be number one. If you look overall, there's an argument that people will say that Scotty is the second best player in the series. He should play like it. This is going to be, like that's what the expectation should be. But yeah, Harden, 11-time, 2-time assist champion, 11-time All Star, 3-time scoring champ, 8-time All NBA, sixth man of the year, and top 75 player in the NBA, rated by the NBA itself. I mean, he's still on the Cavs. He had to do less heavy lifting because there's Donovan Mitchell. But you saw his efficiency just kind of scale all the way up, right? He's shooting 43.5% from deep on 7 attempts a game. Okay. We don't have that. His free throws are down, but he doesn't have to have as high of a usage. Um, it's certainly not going to be easy, and I think that first game is really going to set the tone. Because if IQ's out there, they're gonna target him, they're gonna target his leg, they're gonna go at him. At this point, is there's no friendship. It's almost like we're going to war kind of a thing. Not actually, but there is a level of that. So yeah. Anyone's thoughts? I just realized I've been out here for 41 minutes, just yapping away. So, you need, yes. I mean, it'd be nice. I still think that there are limitations to what he can do. James Harden and like, do you want him on him or Harden? Because that's the question is, do you want Jacoby to be more of a point of attack defender? Because the fact is that they can have Mitchell off ball. They can have Mitchell off ball. I'm just gonna pull up some more film really quickly. Um, but yeah, I'm just kind of curious, people in the chat, what you guys all think of both, whether it be the Ed Rogers AI Pelly stuff, or even from this standpoint, what you all think from the standpoint of here we go, of everything here. Need Scotty to be great, or the cookout's going to be spicy. I mean, the cookout is always spicy, but yeah, I think that like I expect Scotty to be solid. I don't expect his dominant games to go the same way as a traditional dominant player's games. I don't expect him to have like a 30 and 20 game. He had a 30 and 20 game against this team in the playoffs, not against the aging Golden State Warriors, but against this team. Like, hats off to him. That's impressive. I don't know if he's gonna be doing all that, but you would hope so. I'm just gonna pull up. I have their last 5 games, but I'm just trying to pull up James Harden's stats so I can see some of the against some good teams, so I can put some of his film on the tape. So it's just taking me a second, but yeah. BI has to average 25 or they're cooked. I think, yeah, offensively, they're going to struggle to keep up. You can slow down their horses, but those two guys have ways to figure you out much more easily. They've seen more. They've seen more even from just a playoff standpoint. I would be a bit wary. I mean, Donovan Mitchell is one of the best catch and shoot players in the NBA, one of the best offensive players in the NBA. It just doesn't even compare. Um, Almost done here. I'll try to prep these things ahead of time, but yeah, for whatever reason, it's not loading on the. There we go. It is loading finally. So yeah, so James, I'm gonna have some James Harden, Mitchell stuff. I think Mobley is going to be the X factor in this one, which is weird because he's a top 3 player on that team, but I do think that he is going to be very important to that team. Once this video loads, I will put it up on the screen. I'm wondering if I don't think Grady's going to get much of a run in this one at all. Um, so you have to really wonder. I know everyone's really confident. It does come down to, can Scotty punch up and can he punch up consistently? And how does he play? Does he play through the post? If Scotty's going to play out more out on the perimeter, I think that I won't say you're screwed, but you could run yourself into a little bit more trouble. You definitely could run yourself into a little bit more trouble. So, can Scotty average more than 20 in the playoffs? No, he struggled to score more than 20 before you. So here's the thing. Usually, guys, they're what you want, the best stars, usually their point totals usually dip down, but ideally the best of the best, their efficiency kind of stagnates around where they were. Because you're that good, you can still get yours in the way that you need to. But this is going to be a bit of a ramp up in terms of physicality, seriousness, and whatnot. And I don't know, again, if Scotty's going to be playing out there on the perimeter, tossing up threes, I don't think you're going to have the same defensive non-pressure. But I also don't think that they're going to like hyper focus in on him because, I mean, he's not a good 3-point shooter. So without him shooting the threes, and if he's going to be out hanging out there on the perimeter, you're going to see him not being able to shoot, a good percentage because he's going to be taken away from his most optimal spot. And from an offensive standpoint, you might see the ball swing around a little bit. That's all well and good, but I do think that he's going to, I don't know, say between 15 and 18 points. Like, well, I could be wrong. I think 18 is gonna be because like I think that he's gonna have certain games where he's gonna have at least one low point game, and that's gonna drag it down. But I do think that he's gonna have other games where he'll give you like 23. But if with IQ out, BI needs to give you at least 24 to 30. What I can see happening throughout the course of a series is there's a trust factor that occurs where all of a sudden guys want to play hero ball. In some ways, Scotty plays hero ball, but in a different way. He plays it defensively, and that has sometimes thrown the Raptors off, but it's a whole other discussion for another day. He doesn't really play hero ball from an offensive standpoint. But I think that what's interesting is that the the Raptors, if they go into hero ball, you could see some struggles. You could see RJ Barrett saying, "You know what? Let me get mine." Right? You could say Brandon Ingram saying, "We got to win this game and just stop passing." And when that happens, you're going to hear the consistent things that you've heard throughout the season, where it's like, "Oh, they're not passing to Scotty enough." Well, what happens when that is the case? Because to be honest, it shouldn't be about one individual player at this point. It really shouldn't. But sometimes it gets like that. Okay. It's not enough to win the series. I agree. Sandro, he is an X factor, but he can't defend. So if he has a bad night shooting wise, I won't be harsh on him to be like, oh, he's useless, but you're gonna struggle with him on the floor. I think the challenge that I have is CMB. I think is really important, but CMB's hand is going to betray him in this series because he is coming into this very, very severely not healthy. He's not healthy. So I'm just finally pulling up. Sorry, the NBA's site is very slow today, and I'm just trying to navigate it. And it's badly built. They're going to target Shed in the series. I agree. I do agree with this. The Charlotte game was wild. It was incredibly wild. It was really good. I actually I covered it earlier. Welcome to the channel, Toaster. You are new here. We might have some new people. We may have some old people, but like and comment and subscribe if you like this content. Do appreciate it. Yeah, sorry, it took me a bit to get all Donovan Mitchell's 600 stuff. The thing is, I'm not trying to see him against like some of these bum teams. It's not as fun to watch. So let's see. Okay. I hate DMCA, by the way. Just kills me. Just kills me. I would put more videos on this channel, but you just get killed by it. So yeah. This is Donovan Mitchell right up here. He's gonna come up. Boom. Like the thing is like he's undersized, but the fact that Donovan Mitchell can slip down, it's actually really smart. He sets a screen to get him open, and then he uses that same move to slip down into the post. You get a post entry pass. That's clean. Like the fact that you can get those kind of clean looks from him where it's super easy. There's a reason why he's one of the most prolific, I will say, prolific scorers in the NBA, even come playoff times. And he's tiny. I know he draws comparisons to Wade. I would say not defensively, but he is not. Wade was not a big guard, but he had the lateral quickness. He was able to do those staccato footsteps, the Euro step. Like the fact that he gets low, like right here, he's past his man. Let's look at that again. Sorry, I know it's a little bit choppy for folks, but yeah, like look at this. Rocks him. He's past his man. That's done. And that's I mean, literally is a layup, but you're not giving yourself a fighting chance with that type of a bucket. You're just not. Yeah. And you have fearless guys. I don't know how we're gonna cover Donovan Mitchell, and I don't know how we're gonna cover Harden. And those two are able. They're better than what we have, and unfortunately, Donovan Mitchell did not play a lot of games against the Raptors this year because he was not healthy during some of those games. So yeah. Okay, I think I've covered everything. I think I've gone through a lot. Hopefully this live was good. Again, I'm just trying to sort my way through doing the lives in general and just kind of getting myself out there. So if you like this, do come back. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have something that you want me to cover in the future, post below. I do actually respond to most people's comments, and I try to do it fairly promptly. Um, I put my main keys of the series, which is I think that their offensive guys are going to figure out your defense, but really they don't have the wing defenders to stop you. So the wings are going to be the key. After game 2 might be possible, but it's just my schedule for exams and stuff overlap. Some of them overlap. So it will be tough, but I will see if I can. This is an interesting card, so I'll get to this and then I'll head out. So the CMB Like, who do you put on Mobley? Who do you put on whatever? I would actually flip it. I would put Scotty in the post on Mobley, and the reason why is that Scotty is not as good laterally at covering his man. He's not as good of a one-on-one defender, but as a roamer, as a free safety, as a guy who roams around and just kind of like can make those, as they say, defensive playmaking chops. I think that he's there, and that's where I think that he thrives. And so for that reason, I would make sure that he's in his best position in the post against Mobley, and it also lowers the workload that he has on the offensive end to give him more on the defensive end to give him more. Um, yeah, like Scotty's had some pretty incredible defensive possessions, but we're talking about one of the best one-on-one players, in the NBA, like potentially ever. I didn't say the best, but one of the best. He's definitely up there. And so, yeah, I would rather him be like more of a free safety and and that also slows down your drive games because if you can rotate over and stop and stymie some of the drives that they may make, that's a better decision. I would say so. Yeah. All right, folks, that is almost an hour. I'm gonna do as many of these. If not, you will see me game 4 onwards. Stay tuned. Draft talk. I already have 2 videos loaded, or at least one video. There's LeBaron that is loaded, and another one Pete that I need to do. So stay tuned. I have not forgotten about those. It's just getting them posted. So yeah, I will be posting shorts. So worst case scenario, if you do not catch me on a live, check out the shorts. We'll have the shorts for most games. Take care, people, and for sure, waste of him at POA. It is, yeah. Peace, people.